This is mounting a 2522 hike camera to drop tile using toggle bolts. You can tell the camera's part number by looking at the side here, the model number, and these 4 digits in the middle. It says 2522, so I can tell that that's what that is. Now this camera has audio as well, so we'll talk about the mic. But you open up the camera box. Most of this stuff you don't need for a regular installation. It does have a back plate in case you want to use one, but you don't need to. You will need this special tool here. It's your security driver in order to get the dome off of the camera. So we'll keep that out to use later, and then pull out the camera. And this is what the camera looks like. You've got pigtails coming off of this camera. You can see that the cord actually comes out not in the center but over here on the side, which is important to note when you're trying to mount the camera to determine the orientation. This is the only port that we're going to be using because we already ran an Ethernet cable over to where we're going to be mounting the camera, and the Ethernet cable just goes and plugs into there because this is power over Ethernet. So the first thing you want to do is remove the dome, and you just use this Allen wrench with the security tip. Okay, and then the dome comes off. Now this dome comes separated. Keep the plastic on until after you've completely mounted it, just to keep it cleaner. Now inside you can see a couple of things here. Number one, this is the mic right here. It's got this little rubber grommet thing right there. That tends to fall off, so just be really careful with that. Now this lens does not move until you loosen this set screw right here. So all you need to do is loosen that set screw a little bit, and then you can go ahead and move the camera lens however you need to. Now it only rotates about 45 degrees right and left, so you've got to make sure that you mount the camera in the direction that you want it to be aiming, because otherwise you can't move it a full 180 degrees to the back side. And then you can tighten the set screw once you've got a relatively good angle on it of what you want after you've determined where you're going to be mounting it. When you found the place that you're going to be mounting the camera, and in drop tile you can see I have a full tile right here, I need to determine if I want to mount the camera in that corner, this corner, the middle, wherever it's going to be mounted, so that way I can make the hole in the right place. So the easiest way is to take the drop tile and just remove it from the ceiling, and then you can bring it over to a trash can so you don't make mess in the customer's premise. Now I've got a drop tile piece removed, and I'm determined that I'm going to be installing the camera right in the center of this drop tile. So what I need to do is I have to make a hole big enough in order to get the pigtails for that camera to go through it. So I can either use a drywall saw, or if I have a drill and a 7/8 inch or bigger drill bit, I could just drill the hole in the middle. So for this one I'm just going to use a drywall saw and just cut through. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's big enough to get those pigtails through. That's all you need to worry about. And there we go. So now I've got a hole there, and now I can just mount my camera to this hole. I have to determine where my toggle bolts are going to go through next. Now that I've made the hole in the drop tile, I can go ahead and mount the camera. So the first thing you do is shove all of these pigtails through the hole. And you line up your camera to determine how you want to have your, where you want the toggle bolts to go through. Now if the camera is going to be aiming this direction, so you have to think about when the tile's on the ceiling. If it's going to be aiming this direction, you want to mount it like this. If you mount it like this so that it's kind of square with the tile, it might look better, but you might not be able to move and rotate the lens enough to be able to see that direction. So it's best to just mount it in the direction that you want it to be. And then you've got these 2 holes on the side, so I just take a small screwdriver here and push through so that I can get my toggle bolts to go through it. And I push the 2 toggle bolts through on each side, and then I can lift this up and put my ends on them. And I do this over the top of a garbage can just to not make as much mess in the customer's premise. So I just put these on the end and tighten them. So now I can leave this right there, and then it will bite once I tighten it with the screwdriver. Now that it's snug on there, you can see that this camera is never going to come off unless someone takes it down and removes these, but that's going to keep it on there. Now you just put the tile back up, you plug in your Ethernet cable, and that camera's ready to be aimed once you get it online.